Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Wes Mandible, and I just got here. And you did too. So welcome. Sit down, grab a beverage, and hang out with me while I force you to listen to my story times. Oh, that's good. It is February 15th of 2024. At the ripe early number on the clock of almost noon, because it's so early and I woke up like this. So oh yeah, it's very nice. So yesterday was a little day some of you might have heard of called Valentine's Day, or Galentine's Day for the ladies, or maybe even Palentine's Day for the boys. You know what I'm saying? You know, you should go and you hang out with your homies and it's just like have a good time and like, you know, just do like fun top golf, and then you walk your homie to the door and you shake hands because that's what you do. Also, the Fantastic Forecast was announced in a little cutesy Valentine's Day thing. We saw Joseph Quinn was named as our Johnny Storm, which is pretty cool. We also had Vanessa Kirby announced as Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, so that's neat. And Mr. Guy that I saw for the first time in Punisher Season 1, Eben Moss. I don't know how to say your last name. Bachrock. I don't know. So he's in there, and who else other than the new businessman on the block, Pedro Pascal, as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Now I have opinions about this, but who cares? I just got here. Who cares? Who cares? I do, and I'm gonna tell you. You know, I'm gonna be a little honest. What is it? 2024? What did I say it was? Yes. So 2017, Wes would have been very, very excited that they were making a Fantastic Four movie, and even 2017, Wes knew that one day they would make a Fantastic Four movie. And I think they even said they were going to. And they were like, one day we're going to do it. And they were like, oh, hey, look, it was all phase 6. Look at this. And it's like, we're in like phase 3. And they're like, oh, just eat your Infinity War. You'll love it. And I'm like, okay. And now they're doing it. And it's like, well, yeah, but like the last phase and a half has been whatever you want to call it. I know I'm not the only one, and I try not to be like a total turd about it. Like, I'm not like one of those guys in the She-Hulk comments that are like, women lawyers, you know, but at the same time, it was like, I watched an episode and I was like, well, all right, well, I think I'm done. Like, I really liked Miss Marvel. I thought that was a really well done, cute little show. You know, it was like a nice little coming of age kind of thing, and you know, and I like it kind of gave me homecoming vibes, which I think it was supposed to, you know, and I know that not everybody liked Homecoming, and that's okay. But all that to say, I'm a little marveled out. And as a matter of fact, I decided I was marveled out when Doctor Strange 2 came out. Little movie called Multiverse of Madness. Maybe you've heard of it. I was not a fan of it, and I was reminded how much I disliked it. Not even by rewatching it. I really wanted to like that movie, and I didn't, and that hurt because that was like the first time we were like, okay, we're getting something new. I'm really excited about this. And then they made it, and I was like, oh no. And I think it kind of boils down to just the general direction of the movie. Like it felt like the performances were really disconnected and didn't feel like they really knew where their character was in the story. You know, most people, I think, on a general bassists know this, but in the movies, we don't shoot chronologically. We shoot according to what makes sense most to the schedule. Like, we're in, this warehouse, the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie, and the end of the movie. And so we're just going to shoot all of those things, based off of what is available to us, or who, if we have certain actors that are only available, that are in the end but aren't in the beginning, well, we're going to shoot those first, and then, they only have like 2 days available, so we're going to do all that here, and we're going to try and get all that coverage, kind of fit all those pieces in it, and it's all like that. And so you have this big studio movie like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where it just kind of felt like that was usual business, where everything was kind of disconnected in the production. But like, I'm calling that out. Like, it didn't feel like he was necessarily bringing the actors into where they were. Like, some actors you have to do that more, some actors you have to do that less. It certainly felt like, that was kind of the case. I do think that our lead man, Cumberbatch, did a great job in that. Like, I feel like he figured that out really well. But, considering he was playing so many different versions of himself. But that's the other side of that movie, which is like, this is like kind of the big thing that a lot of people are like, dude, it's just a movie, like, move on. But like, we've already established a verisimilitude of our cinematic universe, and understand that this is not coming from a diehard Marvel fan. This is coming from a diehard movie fan. My critiques aren't on the Marvel side. I really don't care. I just care about a good movie. And so I'm going to critique it as a movie because it is a movie. I think one of my biggest problems that I started to have with what Marvel was doing was that they started kind of breaking the rules that they had set in their normal real world, that you would probably call for a story, is that you have these rules that we've made, right? And they're not totally defined, so you have some flexibility there. But one of the big things was that, okay, we have a multiverse. Okay, cool. But we've also established, let's, just go back to Loki. We have Loki. We've established that Loki in different universes, at least in the ones that we directly interact with, they look different. They are different people. We established in Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man is different people. He's still Peter Parker, but they are different people. And obviously that's because we're tying all these different movies together, but we've established that in two places. Now we go to Doctor Strange and we meet all these Doctor Stranges, and they're all the same person. And in theory, you could do something with that, but you already have two different sources saying that that's not how it works. So why would you break your verisimilitude there? I think it is a thing that pulls your viewer out and is like, well, it's an incontinuity. And maybe not everybody's worried about that kind of stuff. Maybe not everybody's like looking at that being like, oh my gosh, that ruins it for me. But as a person that watches movies intently and is like observing them and trying to take them in as an art, it throws it off. It does. But the one redeeming factor for me in that movie was that we had the Illuminati. Like, I thought that was a really cool introduction to make. Whatever your thoughts are on what they did with that group by the end of that, that's up to you as a viewer, whether you like that or not. I was very, very excited to see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. That was so gratifying and cool to me as a longtime viewer. Again, not a big Marvel fan, but as a longtime viewer of the MCU, to see something like, that people had gotten excited about and said, hey, we would really like to see this guy as this character. And then they paid that off. And I thought that was really cool. Not that I generally am super into like fan bases swaying. But I would have just rathered that if they didn't plan to keep him, just don't make the casting in the first place. Kind of one of those things where it was like, I mean, like, I literally in the theater was like, oh my gosh, it's him. All that said, you know, I was disappointed that they didn't keep him. You know, but it's okay because like I'm marveled out at this point anyway. So, but that's also, I think, a big part of why people are like, oh, well, are they going to have, you know, is Tom Cruise going to come in and be Superior Iron Man? You know, which obviously didn't happen. But, you know, like that's part of, you know, it's like you're making a movie and this is kind of like, this is what you're telling us and then this is what you did. And I felt the same way in Loki when all these buildings were falling around him and Loki like uses the Force, I guess, to like push it or rewind time or something like that. And it was something that was like, we've seen Loki use his powers for like over 10 years and he's never done this. Where did that come from? And we didn't even talk about it. So that's kind of part of it, is that what makes a good story cohesive and easy to follow and really lets your audience feel like you are letting them in to the story, and helps make that story more successful and more rich for your audience, is that like you name the rules and the circumstances, and you don't have to do that with your words. You can just show people what's possible. I think that like Avatar: The Last Airbender does a really good job of that. Like we have a general idea of what is possible and what's not possible. And when they go to change how that works later, they still kind of bring us into the process to explain why it is possible. It's not necessarily a science, but it is part of the storytelling to include your audience. So I do feel like that was something the Marvel Universe did really well for a long time until it just kind of decided it was done doing that. But I think it's a subconscious thing that a lot of people like, and I think it's something that people appreciate. Really coming back around, because I started by introducing the new cast. Pedro Pascal is the new Mr. Fantastic, and you know, good for him. I love Pedro Pascal. I think he is fantastic. He's fun. He's stoic, and he is a handsome guy. And I think that he's just going to be fantastic. I've been watching him since like Graceland, I think, is the first thing I ever saw him in, which it was not the first thing he was in. But that's the first thing that I remember seeing him in. For those who don't know, that Graceland is it was a police drama, and it was like a CIA and DEA and customs, like it was like a joint operation type thing. And I think he was a detective in that show, and he was kind of an inciting incident to the greater mystery of the show. The other thing that I was wanting to talk about today, I'm not super well versed in it, but Helldivers 2 has really taken off, which was interesting to me because I thought that was a PlayStation exclusive. And as it turns out, I think I was right, because I am now seeing headlines say that Sony is planning to take their exclusives to PC earlier, which I think is interesting because that doesn't make them exclusive anymore, does it, Sony? I don't care, but I do think that people who want to play exclusives on the PlayStation might care. I once perhaps thought of myself as a person like that. I do think that it makes sense to do that. I'm intrigued to see where this goes down the road, because I don't know. I don't know if exclusives are enough to make people buy a console these days. And my personal example of that was Spider-Man 2. Like, I owned a PlayStation 4. So, I mean, it was a few years after the PlayStation 4 came out. You know, it was 17, I think. And so I bought it. I don't really remember exclusives being a part of that necessarily. I didn't have a huge draw to go to Xbox For the same reason. Like, I was gifted a 360 by somebody who purchased an Xbox One a few years prior. So it was like, I kind of got my fill of Halo. I will say that the main reason that I hung on to my 360 was because I was interested in Viva Pinata, and I went back and I purchased Viva Pinata and played it on the 360, which is the same reason that I still have a 360 to this day. But for the PlayStation 4, I don't think that that was really a primary concern of mine. I mean, like, I think I picked up The Last of Us Remastered because, you know, like, I couldn't play it because it was rated M. But I don't know that I would have purchased a PlayStation 4 for that exclusive. Like, I think I was more interested in Battlefront at that point in time, you know, Rainbow Six Siege, because I didn't really have a PC that could run things. I didn't have a budget to build a PC that could run things. Now, I don't own a PlayStation 5. Like, I think it would be cool to own a PlayStation 5, but I have a PC that runs things well, you know. But really the only shortcoming of that is that I don't get to play exclusives. I didn't get to play Spider-Man 2 when it came out. And I was like, and guess what? I lived. You know what I did when Spider-Man 2 came out? I went and re-downloaded my copy of Spider-Man. What year was that? 2019, 2018? I went and reloaded that onto my PlayStation, and then I played that. And then I went and I played Miles Morales right after that. And then I was like, hey, guess what? I really don't want to play Spider-Man 2 anymore. I feel like I just played it. And, you know, it's like, I checked out other people playing it. And, you know, I know that they changed a few things, and like the mobility seems like it's really good in that game. I was like, I don't care. You know what I did play? Baldur's Gate, dude. I played Baldur's Gate. That's another conversation, because it does get a little repetitive after you play a couple times or start a few new campaigns, which everybody has. Everybody said, what if I got to level 5 as a warlock instead? And I played, maybe a Dragonborn? I've done that. As a matter of fact, I think I literally did that. So, you know, I mean, you know, I don't know if exclusives are necessarily where it's at these days, and maybe there's something to what they're going for. But maybe, like, stop advertising things as exclusives if they're not going to be exclusive. I don't know. I mean, because it's like, if you want to make a cool, you know, boys only club, or, you know, PlayStation gamers only, then just make a PlayStation gamers only club, you know, make a subscription service, which I think they kind of have. I mean, they do, like, you know, PlayStation Plus or whatever. They have different tiers to that where it's like you subscribe and, like, it's like Game Pass, you know. I mean, do that if that's what you want to do. All right, well, thank you for tuning in and listening to me share my thoughts on things maybe have a little business talking about. But just remember, I just got here. I'll see you later.